This is the President McCormack Podcast with your host, Mark McCormack.
Ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else, welcome to the podcast today. Jacob Anderson.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
Dad, thanks for coming on, dude.
Yeah.
Jake has been one of my first listeners on the podcast, sending me feedback and so far has liked it, I believe, right?
Yeah, it's been good. I've probably listened to, 10 or 15 at this point.
Yeah. That's cool, man. I've only got 4 listeners, so it's nice to have 25% of my crowd here. On the first 20 of them, I pre-recorded them, before I launched them, and I joked with everybody. People are like, I'm a little nervous to come on, and I'm like, I have no one that listens to this, bro. You're good to go. It's just me and you.
Oh, I know compounding interest and time, so I'm an early adopter here. There's going to be thousands of people that listen to your podcast, Mark.
I hope so, dude. We'll be super famous, and we'll do YouTube channels. We'll die wealthy and happy, right?
One day I can say I was on the President McCormack podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Your kids will be like, really, Dad? No, it's kind of, we were just talking, and it's like, you were asking me who my target audience is, and I was like, I don't know, kind of anybody, and you said, it feels like it's your kids. Yeah. And dude, it whipped me back, and I'm like, no, it actually is. It is for my kids. That is, I'm self-sponsored. I don't know if I'll ever take a sponsor on or anything like that, because I'm just like, no, I want this record. I want this out here. I want my kids to hear the conversations that I've had with my friends and people that I respect and people I like. And I'm sure eventually I might get, quote unquote celebrities on here that I don't really know, or, whatever, kind of interview them and get to know them better. But I'm assuming the first couple hundred episodes of this will be just people I like, and having them on.
Yeah. I admire what you're doing. We both grew up Mormon, and probably talked about journaling, the importance of journaling, which I hate to do. So this is a much better way of doing that, leaving a legacy for yourself, your kids. Yeah. Hopefully they can learn from all these guests you're having on. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, we are the exact same with that. I hate journaling. On my mission, the problem with my journaling too is I use it to vent. I came home for back surgery halfway through, and then I ended up going back out and finishing. But when I came home, my mom, I can't remember if it was my mom or someone asked me if they could read my journals. And I was like, yeah, sure. Whatever, So they kind of read a couple passages and no big deal. I don't know. I can't remember if they found it interesting. But so I picked up my journal. I was like, oh, let me read this. And I'm like, what the hell?
They probably thought you hated it.
Yeah, I wanted to beat my attorney's, or my attorney, just talking to Adam Ravelli. I wanted to beat my companion's butt today, I didn't swear in there all that much, but it's like, I'm reading this, I'm like, dude, this was not what this is meant to be. You can never share this with your kids. Right. I guess you could now, but at the time I was thinking that, I'm like, no, I want them to know. I had a lot of fun on my mission and I had some success. But my journals make it sound like I'm just venting the whole fucking time.
You're like one angry dude. Why were you out there, Dad?
Yeah. Why do you not like people, Dad? It's like, but then, it's funny too, because, we homeschool, and I try and grab a class every now and again where I talk to my kids and come up with something. I used to joke that I taught American excellence, so I could, make them proud Americans and stuff. But, I don't know how to take my experiences in life and put it into them. And a lot of it's because they're too little. A lot of the conversations I have with people, one day Brea actually my oldest daughter sat through 3 of these. And then, we're driving home. I'm like, what'd you think? And she's like, oh, they're nice. I'm like, well, what'd you think about what we spoke about? The subject matter. And she was like, it was nice. And it's not that she wasn't understanding what was being said, but she just doesn't get it.
Yeah, you're not going to talk experience into them. I've heard you talk about bringing your kids to work, making them work. You got to show them. You got to do it with them. Yeah. So
and I think there'll be a time in their life where they're going to be away from me. It might be college, hopefully not, but it might be when they're just out in the world, and it's like, what? If you ever want to hear your dad's voice or understand my perspective, listen to this podcast. Yeah. Because I feel like I try and be very authentic with people, I don't prep for these.
Yeah.
I just bring people on that I like and just have conversations, and it goes wherever. You know?
Yeah, I think that's a strength and a weakness of yours. And I think I share that as well. Like being vulnerable, shooting, talking things like it is, and yeah. You're doing a good job.
Oh, thanks, man.
I'll stroke your ego a little bit here.
Thank you very much. Oh, you can't stroke it enough. It's pretty big. No, you're right, though. I like what you said, though. It is a strength and a weakness because it does, even recently, I've had a few friends not want to be friends with me because I think it burns too hot sometimes, you know, because I feel like being a good friend, I just give you honesty, right? So if you ask my opinion, I will just give it to you. Right.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work for some people, you know, and I've burned some friendships over the years, you know, and I've been in the wrong too. And not that I'm, you know, Mr. Honest Guy, and that just makes you right. It's being not wise and not understanding what the other party really needs. And you're just blasting them with, you know, your opinion all the time is not good.
Yeah, we'll talk about probably business a little bit, but that's my weakness too. I will be totally upfront with people, and sometimes it'll turn them off. So I'm in partnership with my brother. He's the people person because I can do that, be blunt, and sometimes there's a good point in doing that, and then it comes with a cost sometimes.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah.
I'm curious who these friends are, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about. I'll give names later to you off camera. But yeah. No, but it's fun though, man. I mean, you know, we went to lunch. When was that? Early in the summer, something like that.
Oh, 3 or 4 months ago, probably.
Yeah. Had I started doing a podcast yet, or I was just telling you? About it?
No, you hadn't started yet.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And I love podcasts, by the way. So that intrigued me. We talked about that a little bit.
Well, the fun thing too, man, is like you listen to episodes and you text me and tell me what you thought about them. And dude, I loved it. You know, and a lot of people are like, oh, it's so amazing, right? And I like it when people are like, oh, it's good, but this one thing, I didn't like that part. And it's like, oh, cool.
Well, so you go, we just talked about this. I'm shooting straight with you. So yeah, if you want more, I'll send more. I was a little bit like, does Mark want to hear this from me? So,
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Absolutely.
I'll give you more feedback.
So, and there's people I don't want to hear
from. Now that I know
from.
your goal is to produce hundreds of these in the next few years.
Yeah, I have a very lofty goal of knocking out 300 in 2.5 years. So I'm like 3 months in, 4 months in, something like that.
Man, you're on pace though, probably, man. You're knocking these things out.
Yeah, I'm definitely on pace, and I have a lot of guests I'm going to bring on. I'm going to bring on a lot of. My original plan was actually to bring on a lot of guys in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, right? And funny enough, those guys are like really hesitant to come on, and I'm not going to call him out because I'm going to get him to come on. He's an artist, right? He's amazing. And he's just like, well, what I do just doesn't really transfer. And I'm like, yes, it does. Like, this is what I want. I want you guys that have we're in the middle of our careers, right? We're still screwing crap up, right? They're at the end. They're done. They're wealthy. They're happy. Their kids are grown up. They've built these amazing kingdoms. And I'm like, I need you guys to come on these podcasts and talk about A to Z, not A to M, you know? And yeah, dude, I'm shocked how much convincing it's taking, right? Because generally you get people, you know, they're a little more available, you know, especially because not all the guys I want on are retired, but a bunch of them are. And I'm just like, come on the podcast. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah. It's this distrust. I feel like my parents have the same thing of, we're millennials. We're the first of the millennials. We're comfortable with this stuff. They're not.
How dare you? Are we millennials?
We are.
I know.
Class of 2000.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It's almost like they view podcasting as like the new technology. And I'm like, it's not new. It's been around a long time. Well,
they are A to Zers, so maybe 20 years from now, we are like, oh, why in the crap did I put so many hours of myself on the internet?
Yeah.
For everyone to see.
That might be true. That might be true, yeah.
But no, I like to embrace this new technology, and I admire you for doing it, man.
Well, thank you.
We all get to stare at your ugly mug for a while if we're watching on YouTube anyways.
Yeah. And I would encourage you guys to open another window up on your browser and do something else.
We'll give you an avatar, Mark. We'll
Yeah, I should cartoon this thing, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, make myself look good. In fact, it's kind of funny, man. Like we were talking earlier too. When I first started doing this, I had a cyst on my eyelid, right?
Yeah.
And I remember the very first episode I did with Paul Kruger, right? I looked at it and I'm like, bro, I'm freaking white. I haven't been tanned. I'm like, I don't like this big cyst in my eye. And it made me check myself. I'm just like, it doesn't matter. Like, who cares what you look like? No one gives a rip what you look like. They're just going to be like, oh, that's Mark, check.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, in fact, I took a 4-week pause on recording because I had eyelid surgery. So to cut that thing out of my eye, they actually had to cut above it. And so if I didn't do an eyelid lift on both eyes, it would look like one eye is more open than the other. And so my good friend Nick Howland, he's a plastic surgeon. He's the one that did it for me. And yeah, dude. So I was repaired. I'm still healing a little bit. I guess it takes like 3 or 4 months for it to be fully done. But yeah.
Well, I know you really care though. How's 90 Day Hard or
the 75
going?
Hard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it going still?
No, I died off at 46 days.
That's a long time.
I'll tell you what happened with that, dude. I started falling apart. I literally started falling apart. It was dumb because I went from like a lot of those things I already do. Like I drink a gallon of water a day. Like we're massive guys.
Oh,
right?
easy.
Like, drinking a gallon of water. It's like, reading. I read for an hour every day, no matter what, either way, no big deal. So following a diet, I followed a diet. That was good for me, right? But doing 2 workouts a day from not really working out all that much was really dumb. Like my shoulders were giving out, and I've torn both rotator cuffs, and so I could feel that like building. And then I was in a yoga class, and I went up on my heels, and my ankle gave out. And I reached down, during it, and I'm like, dude, I had 2 ligaments that were like really sore. Like I had like, I don't know, like turned it like playing football or something. And I'm like, dude, am I just like falling apart? And then a week later, I strained my calf at Lake Powell, like running across one of those like pads in the water. And that hurt bad. And I killed it. I was just like, okay, I'm done. Like, I get it, Well,
when my friends told me about this, that 2 workouts a day, man, it takes, you're a married man with a bunch of kids, that's a huge time commitment.
I did it with my wife or I wouldn't have been able to.
Good.
Yeah. So we were doing like walks at night, right? Which was cool, actually. It was nice to and we brought the family every now and again, but no, yeah, it would have been a massive time away from my family if I wasn't doing it with my wife.
Right.
Yeah. Have you ever attempted something like that?
You and I both had done keto at times, so I've done the diet side of things, and I exercise pretty good on that. Obviously, I need to do it more. You can look at me and see that I need to do it more.
Me too.
So yeah, I'm kind of the typical roller coaster. Yeah. Guys the size of me and you, I can drop 20 or 30 pounds pretty quick.
Yeah.
I can also put it back on pretty quick too. So
yeah, I feel like all it's going to take is like 2 weeks of not working out, right? And it's just like, I'm big again.
Yeah. You
know what's funny? Do you remember when I did the juice fast?
I don't.
Oh, we talked about it. I did a 21. It was a while ago, dude. It's probably like 6 or 7 years ago. But I did a 21-day juice fast.
Huh.
And I was like posting it on Instagram back in the day, right? And people were like, what are you doing? And every night I would make like 3 big mason jars of juice. Huh. And that's all I was drinking. But dude, I lost so much weight. But that's a garbage diet.
Yeah.
It's just, it's almost like the weight you lose is just like your waste inside your body. Because after like 4 days, you don't have any waste. Because there's nothing in there. There's no fiber. There's no nothing. It's just vitamin.
Were you
water.
getting protein at all during that time?
No.
Yeah.
It's just stupid.
Yeah.
It's actually really unhealthy. So I think a 3-day juice fast is probably good for you. Pushes all your, waste out of your body and then you kind of start back into something a little healthier, right? But like I did it for 21 days.
It's a long time.
Oh, I can't believe I did it. I bet I lost 35 pounds.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that day 14 is probably easier than day 7. Did your body kind of get used to it?
Oh yeah.
Or was it painful the entire way?
No, you definitely got used to it. Yeah. If I can remember, I think it was day 4 and 5. You are like heroin addict hungry, because like you haven't had solid food for 4 or 5 days, right? And your body's really rejecting that feeling because you don't feel satiated either, right? So you just have juice, feels like it goes straight through you, and so your stomach's not full. There's nothing in your bowels. And so, yeah, you are starving. And though, but by about day 7, you're like, oh, whatever. I guess this is the new me.
I'll take your word for it, man.
Yeah, don't do it. No, it's dumb. It's a dumb idea for sure. So, what about you now? Are you on a diet right now? You do anything like that?
A seafood diet.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby.
No, I should. Keto is what I find works really best for me. I love, meat, fats. Fats are more enjoyable to me than sugar. So like passing up dessert, no problem.
Yeah.
An extra helping of steak, it's like, yeah, please. I want that.
Yeah, that's me.
So when I feel pretty good when I go on keto. But it's hard, man. Like if I don't bring something for lunch, like going out, like no fries, salad, it's more expensive to eat that way too. So I don't know. It's probably just laziness falling back into habits. Yeah. But that's what I would, if I was to go do something now, I would pick keto. And I'm not one of those people that waves the keto flag. I don't think keto is for everyone, but it works for me and I feel better when I'm on it.
Yeah, I feel like keto works better for people that have a not very large, but like a decent sized muscle base. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you and I are both muscly guys, even though we have our winter coats on, but we, it's just, dieting sucks. Just always sucks.
Yeah.
Do you work out much?
Not enough.
Yeah.
See, Mark, you're just going to jab me this whole podcast.
Well, I'm just wondering. Yeah.
So my son plays soccer, and I told him, and now I'm going to go on record saying this, that once his soccer season ends, that we're going to start lifting together. He's 15, getting to that point where he can start putting on some muscle mass. So
perfect. Ask
me again in a month.
All right, we'll do. So, yeah. And I'll expect you to look way different in 6. No. No, I was talking to my son about that the other day. He's only 10 though. Well, he turns 11 in February, right? And we started taking my oldest daughter to the gym with my wife.
Which son is this? Is Nixon?
Nixon. He's just one. I just have one son.
This the one? Oh, you just have one. This is the son you're coaching, and I'm championship game tomorrow.
Yep, championship game tomorrow. Which, yay! I'm so excited for football to be over, dude.
Yeah,
it's crazy. But anyway, so I was telling him, I'm like, when you're 12, you can come to the gym with me, And like when I said it to him, I was like, this will be a good excuse for me to never miss the gym. Because now if I'm bringing him, now I've got to be the example.
Right.
And I've got to be like the actual example.
You got to be accountable.
Yeah, got to be accountable to him. Like, hey, Dad can do hard things. Dad will do hard things with you, But I've been pretty consistent going to the gym 3 times a week, 4 times a week since I started 75 Hard. So I think I started that like in April. Does that sound right? Somewhere around then. Yeah, it's hard to remember.
Yeah.
Something.
Probably not.
Yeah, I'm like
probably like June or July, 75 days. And
let me think about that. I killed it in September. Yeah, so it would have been more like June. Yeah, when I actually started it. The reason I started it was my friend. So my wife and I she said, hey, I want to do 75 Hard with you. And I was like, okay, She's like, no, you need to commit. I'd heard of it, because my brother had done it. I had just seen all the guys that did it in winter where they're like, got the weighted vests on, they're running when it's snowing. And I'm just like, you guys are stupid. You're going to get the flu, but you're hardcore, like good for you guys. And so she's like, well, I want to do it in the summer with you, and I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, we'll do it, And then I committed to do it, but I think we had like a Lake Powell trip or something like that. And we were going to do it like when we got home,
Right.
And, my really good friend called me up like a month earlier or like 6 weeks earlier than when we were going to start. And he goes, hey, I've just had my last glass of whiskey. He goes, I drink way too much. I don't want to drink anymore. Will you do 75 Hard with me starting tomorrow? And I just said, yeah. Right. Because I wanted to support him, And then I go, well, like tomorrow, like in the morning. Wow. And this is like, 8 o'clock at night or something. This is so
you, Mark, like I'm diving in tomorrow.
Let's do it.
Let's go to the gym right now.
Yeah. I know, dude. Just say yes, right? Just freaking go.
Exactly.
And so I started with him and I did it with him for like probably 10 days. And then I pretended to do it with him for like the first 5 or 6 weeks. and of him doing it, right? And when I say pretended, whenever he wanted to go to the gym, I'm like, hey, I'll drop everything and go with you, right? So I went to the gym with him like every single day. You know, maybe not Sundays, but like almost every single day, you know? And it actually really strengthened our friendship, because about 5 weeks in, we were somewhere like at not a party, but like, you know, we were all hanging out, like eating dinner somewhere or something like that, right? And I was following a diet. I just wasn't working out and doing it 100%. And I go, hey, dude, I just want to admit something to you, just so we're on the same page. You know, like I'm actually, I kind of stopped doing the whole program. I'm just going to the gym with you. And he goes, oh yeah, I know. You stopped after 2 weeks. And I was like, okay, cool. And he just like gave me a big hug, and he's like, but I can't tell you how much it means for me to like have you go to the gym with me every day. And I was like, good, man. I'm like, I'm going to restart it. And I told him like the original plan, and I already kind of told him I was going to do it with Michelle, and he's like, good, yeah. And he's like, we'll still go to the gym. And so we ended up overlapping a little bit, and he actually finished about 2 weeks before I stopped. And so, but he did the whole 75 days, and he rocked it, dude. His last day, he was coming home from like Norway or something like that, and he was like walking through the airport for 45 minutes just to make sure he got his workouts in, and he did it all the way, and he lost like 50 pounds, and
good. Sounds like it worked out for him, and it sounds like the real reason you got into it was to support a friend who made some significant improvements in their life. So hat tip to you and him.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. It was good, man. It was good to have that. You know, it's good to have. I just, you know, I want to be that guy, right? You know, if people need you, it's like, yeah, let me help you if you can. You know, I can't do everything, but you know, you got to be there for your friends. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So let's go back in time. Way back in time.
Let's do it. This could be a dangerous road.
Yeah.
And a fun road.
A fun, dangerous road.
Yeah.
So you went to Highland Elementary with me, right?
I did. Except I think I was an AM kid, and I think you were a PM kid.
I was a PM kid. Yeah. We just talked about this with Ravelli. But you grew up at Highland though, right?
I did. I grew up close to where Lone Peak High School is now, down the road from the seminary building. Did
you live in the same house the whole time?
We moved into that house when I went into kindergarten. So, all through schooling years.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, me too. So I grew up.
I was across what we called Adventure and Learning Park from you guys. So you grew up like in the Quail Creek area, right?
So I grew up, my first house was right by Highland Elementary. So like Isaac Proctor, Jake Powell, those guys are all my
ward. You guys were that walk through the fence to school through the back field.
Yep. Yeah, right through the ditch, and then we'd all disperse into the neighborhood wherever we lived, which I can't even tell you the fond memories I have of living there. But and then when I was 15, I think we moved to Hidden Oaks. And then I lived like on those, you know, those two like holes that are like in the dip. You know, the dip going down to your house?
Right.
Yeah, so the two like, I don't know, it's hole 14 and 15 or whatever. We lived right there in that little cul-de-sac. And but we had Adventureland Learning Park. And then Quail Creek was where like Joe and Rich lived, right? And like Paul and whoever else was down there.
Chris Whipple, I think.
Kevin Lauder, Adam Ingersoll, like all those guys. Yeah. So I remember I would actually run through the park at nighttime to go home or to their house sometimes before we had cars. And so, which I'll tell you, I remember. So anyone that knows Adventureland Learning Park back then, right? I mean, it was dark. There was no lights.
Right.
And so.
Rabbits all over the place.
Oh, yeah. And people.
Yeah.
There's always some random person in there, you know? Like, I mean, it could be a guy fishing until midnight or something weird, you know? And I remember one time my mom called, and she wasn't like mad, but she was like, get home, you know? Like it was like 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, you know? And like Steve Larson, the older brother, like wasn't able to drive me home. And they were like, just run or just walk home to Adventureland Learning Park. And I was like, okay. And they cut a hole in the fence, right? So we went through this hole. You kind of like pop in there, dude. I'm like walking, hear a few things. So I'm walking faster, you know, all of a sudden I'm just sprinting through that thing, dude, like literally sprinting. I'm like, I'm going to die. And it's probably the first time I'd ever like walked through there by myself, you know. And then I sprinted all the way through there, got to the other fence to go into Hidden Oaks and jogged home because that neighborhood's pretty safe. But I just had this weird, like, a drug addict's going to stab me with a needle feeling, you know. We've
all been there.
Did you hang out in Adventureland much?
You know, when we were in Highland Bears football, I would actually take my bike from where we lived, ride the bike through Adventureland, go through that little hole in the fence by Hidden Oaks, and then up the road, up the hill where we to the park by Mountain Ridge Junior High where we practiced.
Oh, for practice. Oh, you went through there, huh?
Yeah.
Nice, dude. That's not a small journey.
Probably.
How long would it take you?
2 miles, maybe.
Yeah.
So, I bet you 15, 20 minutes on a bike.
Oh, was that it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, you were trucking.
I don't know.
Did you do it with anybody else, or were you just by yourself?
There was one year that Scott Barkley played with us. He came, and then sometimes I got a ride. You know, it was I hated doing it. All pads on with my football helmet on my bike helmet on my handlebars. So,
which is so funny, right? Like, why do you just put the thing on? I did the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you always ride our bikes with our helmet on the side. It's just like, just put the thing on.
Exactly. I don't know. That's just how it was. So
how much did you love football growing up?
I loved football, man. I grew up. You were a Ute fan. I was a BYU fan, which is ironic because I graduated from the U. So there's some. I fly both flags, and it seems like you do these days too. But how could you not be a football fan growing up in the 80s and 90s in Utah County, man? You had Detmer winning the Heisman. You know, when we were the year I was born, 1 year. Well, I guess BYU won their championship in '84. Yeah. So I was 2 years old. You might have been 3 by then.
2.5. Yeah.
Yeah. But man, those were like BYU glory days.
Yeah.
So, and Steve Young with the Niners and stuff. So yeah, I was a huge football fan. Started playing in 5th grade. And I think, did you start that first year too?
I did, and I started in 6th.
Yeah. Yeah. So I played in 5th grade, and I think, who was the coach at that time? It might have been the Millars. No, I don't think it was the Millars.
Oh, he was like our
8th grade coach.
8th grade coach, yeah.
But
I'm trying to remember who was our first. Was Clint Chittister our first? No, that was 7th grade. Because it was Clint Chittister.
Yeah, I wrote him down on my little notes for you, Coach Chitty with his sports car. I lost some of my innocence with Coach Chitty as our football coach.
Never truer words were said. Do you remember his tank top with the train on it?
I don't remember, man. I just remember he was a character.
Oh, and
but I took my hat to him. I mean, he's volunteering as a Pee Wee League football coach. So
I know, looking back, right, it's like a nice sacrifice. It was good. Yeah. It was good to us, you know?
Yeah, to me, he was like, super old and cool and whatever. He was probably like, 21?
Probably, yeah, because we ended up playing with his brother, right? His brother, what was his name? I'm actually related to them now. That's Michelle's uncle.
His dad was our coach in 6th grade, I think.
No.
And then again in 9th grade.
Oh, is that what it was? Yeah. I can't remember who our 6th grade coach was. That might be right.
Yeah. I just remember power right, power left, man. Cross blocking. Yeah, I always played on the line.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was Coach Chittister's offense, which Chitty, his son, I think he built on the same thing.
Yeah. I feel like we ran the same thing over and over.
Yeah. I remember Marty Johnson, he always tells a story about how he wouldn't keep his head up. So Chitty grabbed tape and taped it to his butt pad. So he'd give himself a wedgie if he kept putting his head down blocking.
Yeah. So I remember that for sure. I've got to tell you though about his shirt, because I want to see if you remember it. So, because you said we lost a little bit of innocence. Yeah. He would show up. I mean, this is a guy that had an orange Camaro or whatever, right? With a system in it. He'd come bopping up, blasting like Guns N' Roses or something. Right. You know what I mean? And it's just like, probably had a mullet. Did he have a mullet?
I think so.
Pretty sure he did, yeah. At least the image I have of him does. But he had this tank top that had a train on it, like coming at you, like an old school choo-choo train. And it's a cartoon. And it had 2 topless girls on either side of it. You can only see like one nipple on each girl. And bro, I just remember like staring at it and like looking around like, is anyone else seeing this? Like, I have nudity in front of me. Do you remember that at all?
I don't remember that specific shirt. Yeah. I do remember like Big Johnson type shirts. And, definitely that vibe. Yeah. And where I'm like, am I allowed to look at my football coach? And that's part of the growing up Mormon thing too. Like,
Yeah, we were innocent. Yeah, I remember I was talking to Jared Heaton about this recently, in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And he's laughing. He's like, I love that dude, blah, 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 blah. And the one thing that Jared always talks about, right? Tell me if you remember this about football. Do you remember when he got dropped off by his mom and he slams the door and called her a bitch? Do you remember that?
I have vague memories of that. Yeah.
He's just like, dude, then his dad shows up, 17 and a half minutes later and like walked out on the field. And I was like, oh, he's in trouble. Jared, the most stubborn little bugger is like, what? And it just like rips him out of there, takes him home, probably beat him.
Yeah. Probably, who knows?
But I remember Coach Chittister, looking at him like, I'm just going to let this go. Like, I'm not even going to ask this dad why he is ripping his kid out of here. But Jared tells that story, freaking cracks me up.
Yeah.
So what do you remember about Little League football?
I remember running around the baseball field, doing our laps. Just kind of building a core, learning to be a team player. It's funny because I started in 5th grade. I don't let my kids start that early. Yeah. So I told them they could play football if they listened to a podcast about concussions and just wrote me a paper, like a couple paragraphs about the dangers of, on your body and your head and whatever. And none of them took that much initiative. They're all soccer players now. So I don't know. I don't know if that's good or bad. I want them to play. It's brutal, man. Lining right up against someone and saying, I'm going to beat you. Practice is, you can kind of hide in the games more. In practice, you don't hide as much. We had those tunnel drills where you're one-on-one against somebody. It gives you character.
Yeah.
So
no,
it expanded my vocabulary too.
Yeah, set me off on the path, I'll tell you that. I didn't do very many sins in high school, but I had a mouth. And then I chose to go into construction, which I always tell people, I'm like, I only say the F word 10% of what I think it. So that's like my ratio.
Right.
But yeah, dude, it's funny. So I had Ryan, do you know who Ryan Bingham is?
No.
He's a good buddy of mine. So do you remember the creatine creation?
Oh, I listened to this podcast, so I probably know who Ryan. We should listen to creatine. That come back to creatine. That creatine helped me, man. I don't know. Yeah,
for sure.
I think that kind of set me apart.
Yeah.
So I started taking it. We'll get there. I don't want to jump ahead.
Yeah.
So that was probably sophomore year of high school is where creatine kind of comes into my story.
Oh, absolutely. No, let's go into it.
Let's go. Let's jump. Let's fast forward. So,
how did you first get creatine?
My mom.
Yeah.
So, my mom, she is she's a more social person than me. So she knew the football coaches or whatever. I think by 10th grade, I think Coach Gibb may have been working with us on the line, starting the whole hogs and early morning weightlifting. And so I think she had some conversation with him, like how can I need to give a lot of credit to my parents for my football success, at least in high school. That's as far as it went.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not like Paul Kruger and a bunch of the other guests you have here who ended up making millions of dollars on their skills. Mine ended after Cyprus stomped on it, which is still one of the most painful things. We won't go there. So she must have found out about creatine from him, and I was really skeptical. Like, what is this stuff? Because I'd heard of steroids and stuff then, and my mom convinced me that it was safe. So I was taking creatine in the morning, and so in my sophomore year, went into the gym and deadlifted like 400 pounds, and Coach Sayer was there watching or whatever, and was like, "Ooh, man, who is this kid?" Yeah. I think part of that is genetics, and that set me up. And I think creatine really did help me build that muscle mass.
Yeah.
So, and protein powder.
Yeah, protein powder. With my creatine for me was interesting. So I don't know if you know this or not, but my dad's best friend at the time was the defensive coordinator over at Bingham. Huh. And he wanted me to come to Bingham. and not play at Lone Peak.
I don't remember Bingham wasn't like the team when it was like Olympus and Skyline that were like the massive powerhouses.
They were good. It was at the very beginning of when Bingham started dominating, right? I think didn't Bingham take state when we were seniors? Do you remember? I can't remember.
I don't remember. I had to shut it off right after Cypress beat us. It was like, and we were 4A. Would Bingham have been 5A?
They were 5A, yeah. Yeah, because they had like Harriman, Riverton. Right. I think Riverton's the same. Was it built after us? I can't remember. They had a massive area to pull from back then. Mm-hmm. They don't have that anymore. And they could, I think they were open too. Like because of the way that it worked out, they had to be an open enrollment school so they could just bring people from anywhere. But obviously I stayed and played with my friends. You know what I mean? Like it was crazy to go to school at Bingham, especially back then.
Well, we had a good team.
We did. We had an amazing team at the end.
Yeah.
But we, he talked my dad into getting creatine, and I got it for Christmas. It was in my stocking, right? And I remember like, what the hell is this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can't remember if it was before you had it before the sophomore year?
I was probably an early adopter.
I don't think I had it until the Christmas of our sophomore year.
It felt really new, like when I was taking it.
Were you spiking it?
I was putting in, I think, grape juice or something.
Yeah, pure grape juice, right? Yeah. Dude, think about that. We're like 15, 16 years old, and we're like spiking our insulin so that it'll accept the creatine monohydrate into our system.
I just did what my mom told me to. Yeah. So,
Ryan and I talked about this. He actually was taking like sugar. I think he was doing like 2 tablespoons of sugar and then spiking it with that.
Well, his story was funny. He said he snorted it once before pregame.
Which probably did nothing.
I was definitely not that into it. So
it wouldn't even done anything to you.
Oh yeah,
it's like other than burn your nose cavity out. Yeah. He's a funny dude, man. The thing with him that's funny too is like he was taking creatine, but genetically he is a beast. He's a bodybuilder.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And so I'm sure creatine helped, but you know what I mean. I mean, creatine helps like what 10%. You know what I mean? Like you still got to go lift the weight.
I mean, that's the main thing is I was getting up at 5 a.m. with Coach Gibb or whatever and going and lifting and doing stuff I should be doing now probably.
Right. Yeah.
So, no, I do feel like I worked my butt off to get, there was a few of us that, were playing up.
Yeah.
And
who all played up? It was me, it was you, Jared, Paul.
Yeah.
Oh, so and Matt
Chase started as quarterback his sophomore year, right? So Matt Gauman was a beast, but then he went to seminary council and stopped.
Yeah, kind of faded.
Stopped quitting. He quit football. He didn't play anymore.
Yeah. Adam Chase played as a sophomore?
He was the starting quarterback as a sophomore.
Holy crap, I don't remember that.
Yeah, he and Coach Morgan had a rocky relationship, man. He was not the starting quarterback junior and senior year, but yeah.
Well, we had Mark Henderson.
Our junior year.
Did he get hurt?
No, I think he played the whole junior year. And then Sam Burgess came in senior year.
Oh, was Sam only our senior year?
Yep.
Jeez, my memory sucks.
I have a story about Mark Henderson, man. You want to hear it?
Oh, yeah.
So here's a building character moment. And also, so our junior year was the first year I started playing varsity. There wasn't a lot. And I was good. But I do want to point out the fact that there were not a lot of senior linemen our junior year. So I was playing offensive tackle. And that summer, we had we ran the triple option, Mark and I. Okay, and we have Coach Morgan ran the triple option. Our staple plays were 12 and 13, right? Mm-hmm. And you probably remember down blocking. So if it was a 12, we were all taught to step to the right. 13, we were all taught to block to the left. And our senior year, I played right guard, Mark played center, and our main job was to move that defensive tackle, get him as far back as we can, and Mark would break off and go hit a linebacker.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I was playing left guard, and we were playing like Tooele was at camp in Price, Utah with us, and we scrimmaged with them at the end of camp. And Coach Sayer had taught us, okay, if it's 12 pass, you're going to block it exactly like you would 12. So I was playing left tackle, and I stepped to the right, and the defensive end on 12 pass, we fake the option. The quarterback kind of bootlegs back around. So I didn't block the defensive end, and he just nailed Mark Henderson out.
Really?
And Coach Morgan was pissed. So, and after our scrimmage was over, which we probably lost to Tooele at the time or something, he was just furious. Like, we're losing our scrimmage to this 3A team. And he called me up in front of the whole team and then called Mark Henderson up and said, Mark, I want you to blindside tackle him in front of the whole team. Dude, I was so embarrassed, like almost to the point of tears. Yeah. And I was pissed at the same time too, because Coach Sayer had taught us, you're blocking to the right. And I was like, this is not my fault. You guys need to teach us. If you want me to block the defensive end, you better teach us to block the defensive end. And it sucked, man. That was a character building moment. And I look back at that and say, dude, I should have called him out. Yeah. And stood up for myself and said, dude, you want us to block right? Get it together on the coaching level. But I don't know if you remember that. It was super traumatic to me, but you would have been there in that group. Oh yeah.
I was probably just glad it wasn't me last year.
Yeah, no, Jake, I want that spot. So screw up again. Yeah.
No, I don't want to talk too bad about our coaches because it's been a long time, but Coach Sayer had no business being a coach.
Yeah. He was a great man. I have a lot of good stuff to say as Coach Sayer, but dude, look at him. He didn't play line. Like he was stepping in, filling a role because someone probably asked him to do it. Yeah. So yeah.
No, he was contradicting himself all over the place. I ignored him my entire senior year, and I'm sure you did too. Probably most of our junior year. Yeah. Because it was like, what are you saying? If you ask some of my other friends, right, about me and Coach Sayer, like we had battles, huge battles, right? Because I wanted to play defense, right?
Yeah, and then you would have got coached by Coach Wong. At least your junior year.
Yeah, that year, would be cool. But I remember. So I ended up playing. I mean, we were bigger, right? We were bigger guys, and they were grooming us. It was the first year, so they wanted us to play with the seniors, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't start until the second game at center, and it's because the kid in front of me, I can't even remember who it was.
I remember you at center the whole time.
There was only one game that I didn't, and it was because
this is senior year.
No, sophomore year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sophomore year. Yeah. They just fumbled over and over and over and over. And in practice the next week, they were just like, let's try you. And like, I just got it every single time. Like, boom, which is funny why I can't remember who the quarterback was, right? Because it's like, that's who I was giving the ball to like every play. But I had played defensive nose guard all through junior high and sixth grade. And I liked the defense a lot better. Mm-hmm. I liked the aggressiveness of it. I liked all that stuff. Yeah. And I remember being in Coach Morgan's office at the beginning of our senior year. And I'm like, I'm playing defensive tackle. And they're like, we don't play both ways. And I'm like, bullshit. You let freaking Paul play both ways. Yeah. You played both ways a little bit too, right?
I didn't start both ways. If we were down, if the game was in doubt, they'd put us in. But our starting defensive ends were Rich Wade and CJ Ayu. Or at least our senior year. Yeah, Rich Wade started.
No. Wasn't Jared Heaton?
Excuse me. Yeah, Rich Wade. Rich Wade started a defensive end on the right side, and I would go in for him.
Losing my mind right now.
And then Dan Walker and Jared Heaton.
Walker.
Yeah.
No way. Is that right? I'm annoyed.
Annoyed. You could have been playing defensive end, right? No, but Mark, you were a good center, man. Yeah. So.
Well, dude, our offensive line was all great.
I remember. Didn't you have to put your hands up like to form the huddle? Like you
probably
come back,
something like that.
And then we got to hold hands.
Yeah, we all hold hands in there. It's like whatever. Yeah.
Mark was my right hand man.
Yeah, that's true. We held hands a lot actually.
Yeah.
Well, me and you too.
Hundreds of times, man.
Yeah, we were the only ones that started sophomore all the way through on the offensive line, for sure, right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you the thing that scared me, where I was like, ooh, scared's not really the right word for it, but when we were sophomores, we went to film, right? And remember, we felt really cool, right? It was really cool to start as a sophomore, right? Because you're like with the Bringhurst boys and like the Brad Ballard, right? And these freaking just beasts.
Yeah, Brad Ballard was a beast.
And dude, I went to this thing and Coach Longnecker, dude, it was really dramatic. I can't remember if he like kicked a chair over or did something. And he goes, "You see this play?" And And he goes, you were so scared. It wasn't me. It was the whole thing, right? He goes, you let the piss run down your leg, into your shoe, and on the field. And I remember sitting there thinking, I don't want to be here. Like, I don't want to be here. I want to leave. I don't want to get yelled at in front of everybody. And like, it's like burned into my brain. And then like, the longer we played, I mean, by our junior year, I felt like you were just like me. It's just like, we got this. And then by our senior year, it's like, I'm going to dominate every dude that's in front of me.
Oh, we did too, man.
What dude got past us? Yeah. Nobody.
Well, for a lineman, the triple option, I mean, we had, you just had Adam Ravelli in here and David Barr or whatever. They can complain because we hardly ever threw the ball, man. We ran the ball. We ran the ball.
I'll smash mouth football.
It was fun to be an offensive lineman in that.
And why wouldn't they, right? I was 6'6", 260 pounds.
Right.
Well, how tall are you?
I'm 6'3", and my senior year I probably would have been probably 6'2". I was probably close to fully grown, but I was like getting in shape, man. I was losing weight then. So senior year I was probably like 215 or something when we were playing, but I wasn't.
Well, then we had Jake Hodson. Aren't he and I the same size?
Hodson's pretty tall.
Yeah, he's going to be real close to me. I might have outweighed him by maybe 15 pounds. He's probably 240, 6'5", 6'6", and he was the other guard. Yeah. Was Marty on your side?
Marty was on my side as the right guard, and Sean Bennett was on the left side.
All right. Yeah, and Sean was good too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like...
No, we were good.
We were really good.
So,
we're basically undefeated. And then, not only undefeated, we destroyed teams. Yeah. Right? I mean, how many games did we sit the fourth quarter out?
You just met with someone from Timpview, right? 35-0 in our, which was like supposed to be our region championship game. But we went there and stomped them 35-0.
Yeah. And the only reason why they even scored is because Adam jumped that interception and missed it.
Yeah.
Remember that was like a 70-yard touchdown or something crazy.
I thought it was nothing. So maybe they did score 6 or 7.
They scored 6 points. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah. We went to Springville and it was like 52
during their homecoming.
Yeah, remember Cade went into the quarterback the whole second half. All he ran was 12 and 13. Is basically option right, option left.
Right.
And he scored 3 times.
Right. That was a fun game.
Yeah. So it was good, dude. And then we got our freaking. What was the score of our last game? Cypress. You even remember?
I don't know. I think we lost by probably close to 20 or something, 15. I think I probably could go back and look at the film. I avoid that game. I did. My only interception in our high school career came against Cypress.
Oh, really? In that game?
I was playing defensive end, and we had one of our defensive calls was defensive end drop, where the defensive end actually went into coverage, and it was on a 2-point conversion that Cypress was going to, and they threw the ball like right to me, and I got it and was like running, and I remember Garrett Carpenter's faster than me, was like running right next to me, like go, like practically pulling me, and then the refs called the play dead because in high school in our year you couldn't score. The defense can't score 2-point conversion.
Oh gosh, were you going to score?
They took my glory away.
Were you going to make it?
It would have been close for sure.
You had a lead
probably.
blocker.
I mean, if we had 2 or 3 guys there, so if they turned around and would have picked off anyone faster than me, I would have scored.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
I actually remember watching. It still cracks me up because we started as sophomores and juniors, so. I remember Jake Hodson playing. We were watching the game. It was one of the JV games, and he got a freaking interception. And he almost made it to the end zone, and someone tackled him. Just his goofy ass running into the end zone. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's freaking awesome.
Hodson was like my nemesis, And on senior day, we got to pick someone to hit. Remember that?
Did you pick him?
Yeah, I picked Hodson.
Nice.
So
nice.
Yeah.
You know what's weird about us? We did not have anyone like juniors and sophomores ever challenge us for positions.
I'm trying to,
even
Sam Burgess. I'm trying to think of the juniors.
Well, I mean on the line.
Oh yeah. No.
Because we even had Sean Murphy. It was all seniors. I don't even know if Sean Murphy played.
No, I think he was playing baseball, right?
Was he?
I don't remember him playing football with it. But he went on and played, was a stud in football. Didn't he play for the U or something?
No, he played for BYU Idaho or Ricks. But he got drafted by the Dolphins. He played like 5 years with the Dolphins.
Yeah.
It's like that dude didn't sniff the freaking field. And it's like, I mean, I don't know his skill set and stuff. And I'm sure being, a professional baseball son helps you get drafted a little bit, right? I know he got big.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, and I'm sure he was good enough to get drafted. I'm not saying that, but like,
Yeah.
I look back at our high school career and it's like, why weren't you good enough to play with us? You know?
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I don't remember him playing with us. I thought he was doing baseball or something.
I don't think he ever did. He might have played his senior year because he was 1 year younger than us. Is that right?
Yeah. I think
Yeah, because he's one of Sam's good friends. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, CJIU, went on to play in the NFL. I got to line up against him a lot. I felt like he hated going against me more than about anyone on the due to that he was a master of sacks. He went on, did good things. He got a lot bigger too.
He got a lot bigger.
So yeah.
I will blast our whole defensive line. I think our offensive line beats our starting defensive line 9 times out of 10. I really don't think they would do much against us.
I think Jared Heaton and CJIU were pretty good.
Well, CJ
was terrible at the run. Man, he was a pass rush specialist.
Yeah.
Now I say that now and talk shit about CJ now, but who's the NFL player? And I think he's coaching college now somewhere. But yeah, back then CJ, if it wasn't a passing play, he was kind of a pushover sometimes.
Yeah. Who was was it Aaron Hooper behind him? Right, an outside linebacker.
He played Will, right? Paul played Sam, the strong linebacker.
Yeah, he played on the opposite side of CJ.
And
always.
Garrett played middle linebacker.
Yeah.
Oh, and we were 4-3. I think we had 3 linebackers, right? 4 down linemen.
Yeah, 4-3.
I don't remember.
Yeah, 4-3 cover 2 shell.
There you go.
What a wild world, dude. Now, we had some heavy hitters. We had Aaron Garrett and Adam Ingersoll safeties and.
No, our defense was stout, man. I mean, we talk ourselves up as O-line. I think we were pretty good, but our defensive coaches, I feel like were Coach Longnecker and Coach Wong our junior year. He left to Timpview our senior year, which made beating Timpview even sweeter, right? Because we were going against Coach Wong.
Yeah.
But they were some good coaches.
Yeah. No, we had great coaches. It'd be kind of fun to talk to Coach Gibb. Man, I haven't seen him in 20 plus years. I mean, it's been forever. Do you know what happened to him?
I don't remember. I bet my mom would know, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
I thought maybe he went on to coach up at Wasatch and Heber or something.
Oh, that's right. Wasn't he living up there?
Yeah.
He would come down like every day or something like that.
We also had another coach like Hamilton or whatever that came in and worked with the quarterbacks that I think was the coach at Alta for a while too. So Coach Gibb and Coach Hamilton were like coaches that showed up every once in a while. They weren't there every day, and they went on to get like head coaching jobs, I think. I don't know. Coach Gibb would ride his motorcycle. Remember that big Harley show up?
Oh, yeah. I remember Jared sitting on his Harley and him getting upset.
Yeah. It's too bad Coach Gibb wasn't our full-time O-line coach. Like I think we would have even been better.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah.
Oh, for sure. We weren't even coached.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty harsh. I mean, we had suggestions made to us, but like no one was pushing us.
Yeah.
Like Sarah never pushed us, like.
Yeah.
And ultimately that was our downfall, I think. That final game, I mean, dude, we were smashing teams' heads in. By the first quarter, it was over most of the time.
Right.
We go into halftime down 2 touchdowns, if I remember right. I think it was like 14-0 or something. And, dude, it was freaking chaos in there. Yeah. People are yelling at each other. We were yelling at each other in the freaking huddle.
Yeah. It was an ugly game.
Dude, we lost our heads, and that is coaching.
Here's my opinion on what happened in Cypress. This is going. So we had gotten our junior year when we went to the playoffs. I don't know if we made it the first or second round, but we went to Olympus and we played them. It was snowy, man, and we got our butts kicked that game. And Olympus had this offense where they would pull their guard and their tackle around and lead block and the running back would just kind of sit back there for a while, wait for the lead blockers to come and go. So we, as our coaching staff, I feel like never told us to follow pulling guards. So they were unbalancing the right and the left side all the time, and our defense wasn't following them. They had They had 4 or 5 blockers on our 3 guys, and they were just, it was those pulling guards and tackles that destroyed us, man. Yeah. We could go back and watch the film if we want to relive this, but I don't do this very often, but I feel like we were outcoached that game. Yeah. I put it more on the coaches than us.
Yeah.
And I also have heard rumors, we might need to go off the air for this, that there was some shenanigans or whatever before that game, that some of our players may have been on some painkillers or something because they were hurting.
Oh, really?
You would know this more than me, because I
honestly never heard it.
Yeah, so that's probably false.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I was pretty innocent back then. Like I said, I swore a lot, but you never know.
Yeah,
you never know. No, I look back and I think we're both saying the same thing. Like, I don't think our coaches were bad, but they weren't excellent. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how game prep was going on. I mean, we beat the hell out of Provo a few weeks before Cyprus, right? Yeah. We lose to Cyprus in some miracle for them, and then Provo stomps them into the ground the next week.
Yeah. You know? So frustrating.
And we would have, we knew how to play Provo. We knew what we were doing. I don't know. I look at it. I was telling this on a podcast the other day or to somebody. I didn't feel what I should have felt that night because I thought for sure I was going to go to college and play. Even the next day, I was in the coach's office and they're like, "Hey, this sucks, blah, 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 but don't worry, man. You'll have your name on the back of your jersey at some of these colleges one day, like whatever, right? All this talk." And so I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, I guess this isn't actually over, like we'll go and do this." And, I was looking at spring ball. I didn't make the decision to go on a mission until about April. And so I was like going to go to college and play. Like that was my whole thing, whether I had to walk on now that we, got no notoriety or whatever. Right. And when I broke my back and came home from my mission, Matt Berry, his dad is my back surgeon. Right. Huh. And so he came into my room and he was just like, "Hey, just, we need to have a talk." And I was like, "Okay." And he was just like, "No more football. You're done for the rest of your life." And I was actually like, okay. But I was kind of in like a position of like authority telling me what to do. And I was just accepting it. You know what I mean? And it was about when I was 22, 23, I was married. And I remember like watching football and like watching the draft and like thinking like, dude, what are you doing, man? You've like given up on like your dream, Yeah. And that's actually when it hit me that I was like, oh, dude, that was my last time playing football. Yeah, it hit me hard. I mean, I know it hit us all hard that night, man. Some of us stayed on the field. I don't think I did. I was, yeah. Yeah, I walked back to the locker room. It had not crept into my brain that would be our last night playing. Yeah. Oh, like there was no doubt that we were going to win that game, home playoff game, and it left me in shock. Yeah. It sucked. So yeah, it was a character building moment for all of us. Yeah. I mean, we were arrogant, we were overconfident, we were really good, and we just got beat. Yep. There's no other way to say it. We got our ass kicked. Yeah. So yeah, we never led. We never. Yeah. I don't even know if it was close. I don't remember it being close. But I remember if it was in the next day or Sunday, I can't really remember, but there was when the newspaper came out, do you remember that? It said biggest loss in 4A history. Had a picture of us. Yeah. No, I wouldn't have read that. Yeah. I would have thrown it against the wall or something. Oh, my dad brought it to me and I just shook my freaking head, dude. It was so, yeah, it was, I was in unbelief more than like, I don't know. Yeah, I was in denial a little bit. Yeah. Like, I can't believe we don't have practice tomorrow. What? Yeah. How is this even possible? Yeah. And you look at it too, man. I mean, let's just say we would have went to the state game. Who knows if we would have won it, right? But we were easily going to beat Provo. Most likely we would win the state championship. Dude, you're talking like 10, 11 of us going to D1 schools. Yeah. Like that shut down recruiting for us, you know? I mean, Paul and those boys, CJ obviously were getting offers, I remember watching the Daily Herald. They ranked the high school teams back then. Yeah. And we were at the top of that list. Yeah. Yeah. And I think they included 5A in those. We got beat by Mountain View that year earlier, who had Casey Rare. They had a good team. Yeah. They were 5A.
Sam Burgess fumbled on the 2-yard line. If you remember that, we ended up losing that game by like 2 points.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But
we got
other
in a
than
fight
that, we
at the end of it,
dominated. We dominated everybody. What?
We got in a fight at the end of that game. Remember that's when Paul and Jared pulled their helmets off and started hitting people with them? Do you remember that?
I don't remember that. That does not surprise me. And I wouldn't have, I was a good kid in high school. So
Yeah.
That's probably why I didn't play D-line. I wasn't crazy like some of you guys were. So.
I wish I was crazier back then, honestly. But yeah. No, yeah, it was a non-region game. Our region, we just freaking went through like a samurai sword.
Region champs.
Yeah. There we go, baby. That's where the story ends.
Yeah.
Oh, short-lived too, right? We got region champs on Friday. The next Friday, we got our teeth kicked in.
Yeah.
But it's good for us, though, in a weird way. I mean, everything in life's good for you, right?
Yeah.
But it's good for us. It was good for us to all lose. It was good for us to just sit in the suck. That's kind of a popular term these days. Just you didn't do it. You didn't win. There's no participation trophy's going to take this away. There's no your mom giving you a hug, telling you you're special. It's just, nope, you guys lost. It's over.
Yeah.
And you never get it back. Ever.
It's a lesson you need to learn, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, good for the other boys that went to play college, though.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah.
I'll tell you my funniest memory. Tell me if you remember this. We're sophomores, and we went down to play Dixie. And I was long snapping the punt. Right? Do you remember this?
No, but I remember going to Dixie.
Yeah. So I was long snapping the punt. I wasn't that good at it. I was okay. I got it back there or whatever, right? So I long snapped the punt. They kicked the thing. I was pretty quick, so I got down there, right? Especially because I'm unblocked most of the time, right? Because no one comes over the top of the center. So it was easy for me to get down there. Kid catches the ball. I go down there. I tackle him, right? And I'm like, oh, hell yeah, freaking got down there. Got this little quick kid or whatever, Crowd's making noise. I don't really pay much attention to it, right?
You fumbled the ball or something?
No. I go running back. And I remember the coaches weren't that excited, right? And I was like, what the hell? That was pretty cool. One of your biggest dudes getting his butt down there and making a tackle, and they're kind of just I think one of them patted me on the helmet, and the team was just kind of whatever. It's just the most whatever feeling ever. I'm like, well, that's freaking odd. So we go into halftime. We come back out. It's either third or fourth quarter, right? Snap the ball again on a punt. I go flying down there, tackle the guy again, right? And shit hits the fan, right? People are losing their mind. People are screaming from the thing. Refs are coming over and grabbing me. And coaches are walking on the field. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Dude, I turn around and Coach Morgan is 20 feet from me, right? And he's just screaming. And it was so confusing to me. I was like, what the hell? And he grabs my helmet. He's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I'm like, what do you mean? And he goes, that's a fair catch. And I go, what's a fair catch? And dude, he looks at me and goes, you don't know what a fair catch is? I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, man.
And he's like, so he pulls me on the side, dude. And he take your helmet off. I take my helmet off. And he's like, when they wave their hand like this, you cannot hit them. And I was like, oh, never knew that. And dude, the look on his face. So literally, dude, I had snapped the ball. The guy had fair caught it, dude. I lay him out.
Oh, man.
Right? And everyone's like, what the hell? Second time I do it, people want me kicked out of the freaking game. Right?
Oh, man.
And so I tell that story to people, and they're just like, are you serious? I'm like, my dad is Scottish. I have no idea. Do you think we grew up watching football? Hell no. You know what I mean? Everything I learned was from coaches playing this game.
Right.
And so, anyways, you probably don't remember that, but
yeah.
Do you remember them pinching Jared when he was running the ball? They would tackle him and they'd pinch him.
Oh, I remember some dirty pile stuff.
Yeah. He came out of there swinging and punching people, and the refs got all crazy, and they're like, they're pinching me. It was the same game.
I do remember that, I think.
Oh, it's funny, dude. So, for all the fans out there, we just relived our entire football.
Yep.
But football's
you
good,
can
man.
cut it all out.
We got it all out. Mm-hmm. But to kind of sum up the story with football, you cannot replicate football. It's the greatest team sport. I don't care what anybody says. You have a basketball team, you have two really good guys on that team, you're going to win. You have a guy that sucks. Doesn't make any difference, right? Football, you got to have 11 guys doing the same thing, pushing the same way, or you will not win. I mean, you could have a wide receiver not do something on a play, But generally, if that team is not in sync, you will never win.
Right.
Right. And that's why I'm like happy my son's kind of playing right now, because I like that he's understanding that.
Yeah. I like, it teaches you to work through pain and stuff too. And, I mean, I was a little bit of a softy kid. I needed that. I needed to get hit a few times. And
we did. So tell me, what happened after high school?
Okay. So you were a little older than me. You left on we both served missions. I went on you left in December. After high school, there was 7 or 8 of us that went down to Snow College. You're going to know them. David Barr, Adam Chase, Josh Stoddard, Adam Ravelli, me, and Marty Johnson all bunked, got a dorm, off-campus dorm at Snow College together. And so I went to a year of college there, which was not great for me. So just, not enough it was fun. I still hang out with those guys. We're in a fantasy football league together right now. You're part of that group. And a lot of that core was from that time. So I went down there on an academic scholarship. I barely squeaked the grades to keep my scholarship the first semester. And then I was like, I'm going on a mission. Yeah. And then the next semester was probably, we would play tennis until like 2 or 3 in the morning and just goof off. And it was a good life lesson for me, but not educationally or my best standing. But so I went down to Snow College, had a year down there. I sang in a performing choir kind of there with Marty. I'm nerdy like that. I was like that in high school too. So then I left on a mission. Went to Sacramento, California. Served with, we were talking about Jay Anson a little bit. He was there. We didn't really serve together much. Yeah. But worked my butt off on the mission. At that time, you were probably we had the 6 discussions. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Were you an English missionary?
Yeah. You mean speaking English?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I was in Scotland, so if you say we're an English missionary,
that's why I wanted to ask you. Yeah. But your discussion would have been the same one.
Exact same one. Yeah.
So I memorized those. My mission president was President Robert J. Grow, which was like the president of Geneva Steel back when they were here. Okay. Really smart guy. His son Matt Grow was out there with him when we were there. He's like a church historian now. And so we memorized discussions. We memorized all this stuff, and I performed, man. I was like a goalie oriented. I got all that stuff done. So I got finished 2 transfers in. I was done training. My mission president immediately called me to train a new missionary, which I thought was a huge compliment at the time. Like, wow, I just got here and you're going to have me train a new missionary. And that's where things kind of went off the rails for me. I was probably an a-hole to that. I wanted him to follow my path, like memorize these discussions, get all this stuff done, work your tail off. And he did not respond well to that. Probably ran him into the ground. I feel bad for Mike Brown right now. Yeah. And had a successful mission. I'm in a different place now. Yeah. But
what's funny about that? You were my trainer.
Who was?
Same personality. You were. So my guy, I came in and I can memorize really easily. And back then I was really good at memorizing. So we did a thing called a certification, and it's where we memorize like the header of every discussion, right? Uh-huh. And then after you did that, you were certified. And there might have been a couple of scriptures with it, right?
Recognized in like a zone conference or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You get like a
same thing.
Yeah. I'm sure every mission has it, right? There's that, then there's like, then you memorize the discussions, and then you become a master teacher when you memorize like something else, and then you become, mind of the master, and then something else, right? So I knocked out similar. Yeah, I knocked out the certification like in like a week, right? And you had to go to the zone leader to like pass it off, right? He asked you, and you just pound it out, right? So then I memorized the discussions in like, I don't know, another week, another 2 weeks, right? And it came really natural. It was really easy. Now, he like found pride in that. Looking back, that's kind of what I understood it. And so it was almost like his greenie was going to become Mind of the Master before I leave the first 6 weeks, right? Well, Mind of the Master, dude, was a lot of scriptures, right? Like a lot, like maybe 100, you know? And you get a little fatigued memorizing that much, you know? And so, bro, I would wake up in the morning, and if I was taking a dump, he'd be like, hey, are you memorizing in there? No. He's like, you should be. I'm like, oh, okay. If we were eating lunch, if we were eating breakfast, during our companionship study was a straight memorization session, right? If I was on the bus, I was supposed to be pulling out these scriptures to memorize them, right? So I rebelled hard, right? Because I was nice about it for like a day or two, and then he just would not shut up about it. And I'm just like, bro, you know, like, what are you doing? Like, leave me alone. And so we started being really, really contentious. In fact, there was a moment where I actually brought a credit card on my mission. It was like a debit card, right? My parents, I think it was my grandma that gave it to me, right? She wanted to like put money on it and like let me go out to dinner every now and again. And I remember sitting outside of our house, and he would not let me in because I was like, I'm going home. You know, like, you've made my life so miserable, I'm going home. And he was freaking out, right? Like, he didn't want me to call the mission president. He didn't want me to go home. He didn't want me to go in the house. It was like 4 PM, right? I was supposed to be home by like 9:30 or whatever, right? And I remember actually picking a brick up, right? And I'm like, I'm going to smash a window if you don't let me in this freaking house. And we had 4 missionaries in our place. And at that time, the other guys had come home to eat. So it was probably like 6 by now, right? Or something like that. And he was a district leader, and he was just like, calm down, what's going on? And I'm like, I can't hear his voice. Like, I can't stand his face. You know, I'm just like going crazy, dude. Yeah. And I remember, dude, so this is 5 or 6 weeks in, right before a transfer. So then we went and had mission. I went and he called the mission president, because I started packing my stuff. It was a little bit of a show. Right. Yeah. I didn't really want to go home.
You were bluffing a little bit.
I was bluffing a little bit, but like, he did not know that though. Like, I bluffed it good. And he was like, he's the mission president on the phone. And I get on the phone. I'm like, hello, you know, my mission president's like, you know, I can't remember exactly what he was saying. He's like, what's going on? And I'm like, oh, I hate my mission, so I'm going to go home. And I'm just like staring at him, right? I hate my mission. I'm going to go home. And he's like, well, Elder McCormack, you know, let's talk about this a little bit. What's going on? I'm like, I hate my mission. I'm going home. I just kept on saying that over and over. And I think he probably got a little panicked too. So he ended up, I think we had like our like zone interview thing like in a couple of days. And he's like, well, give it a couple of days. I'll come and see you guys. I was like, okay, fine. I'll give it a couple of days, but I'm not talking to him or something like that, right? Just being a little butthead 19-year-old. Yeah. And so I ended up going into an interview with my mission president, and I was just like, I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. Dude, I listed the whole thing. I gave him all the reasons, told him why he was, what I didn't like about him, you know, like in a logical pattern, you know, like I basically made my case in front of the judge, and he goes, well, we have, you know, moves here in a week, and we'll see what we can do for you. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, great. You know, I was just like, yeah, you're out of here, bro, or I'm out of here. I don't give a crap, whatever, you know, like whatever's going to happen, happens. And I remember my mission president called us up, and he's like, okay, guys, there's no changes in your guys' groups. So see you later, click. And I was like, what? You know what I mean? I was so angry, dude. And of course I called him, right? I'm like, I'm not standing for this. And he ripped me a new one. He goes, you don't get what you want in this life. Who are you? You think you're special? You're sticking it out. You're going to grow up. You're going to be a man. And I was just like, and I hung up the phone, dude. I'm even getting chills just talking about it right now. And I remember like walking up into my bedroom. We live in a little 2-bedroom townhouse, right? Walking up the stairs, going to my room, which all 4 of us were in. And I was like, he's freaking right. Like, suck it up, learn to be nice, you know, shut up, negotiate, you know? So we ended up negotiating, and me and my companion ended up being decent friends by the end of it, you know, and much better friends after the mission, even though I haven't seen him in a long time. But that was a good moment, dude. Yeah. And, you know, so you look at it now, you're like, oh, I was a little bit of an a-hole. And it's like, good. I
don't think I was that much of an a-hole, but I'm sure
he was up
an
there. Yeah. But it was good for me to deal with that personality, because now that we're in the world, right? How many freaking people have you met that are like that? You know, like especially in construction, I'd still with dudes that are just like their way or the highway, or they're just too eager. But it taught me like so many lessons, just that just that one thing. If I would have finished my mission after the first 3 months, I would have learned, it would have been worth it just to learn how to deal with people.
Right.
You know?
So yeah, my mission was, I took away many of the same lessons. I don't regret my mission. My mission was hard though. And, I mean, we worked our tails off, and I remember being excited to go home. But, you know, so mission, came home, you know, got married. Well, you and I both scored. Our wives haven't crossed paths a lot. You haven't been, but I scored. My wife is excellent. Yeah. You know, probably the accomplishment of my life so far. 5 kids. And the next really juicy thing is, you know, one day scrolling on Facebook, Sean Bennett's wife, Brooke, actually posted the CES letter. Yeah. And I was like, I'll read this. I'm like the I was like at the time, this is probably around 2015, maybe 12, somewhere in there. I was like the apologist for the church. Like, you know, I'll read this and I'll explain away all the problems with it. And have you heard of the CS letter?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, you know, I read it and it affected me. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this can't affect me. You know, so I read at the time, the Mormon apologetic, like top brand would be Fair Mormon. So Fair Mormon wrote like their rebuttal to a CS letter. So I read that. And then I read the Jeremy Reynolds rebuttal to a rebuttal of the CS letter. And I got through the end of it and I was like, dude, the church has a lot more problems than I realized. And I was a member, not because I just loved being a member. I was a member because it was true, man. The world was black and white, you know, Mormonism was right. So like, and that was the next huge stumbling block in my life when I had to look at that and you know, back at my relationship with the church and think, the world's not black and white like I thought it was, you know, and I questioned everything from God to religion, and I still don't know exactly where I stand, but that's been the next hardest thing in my life. Is my wife is still very much an active believing member of the church. Yeah. And so we have been going now for 10 years of down this road of figuring it out, compromising with each other, living through a mixed faith marriage where she believes one thing, I believe one thing, and we make it work. And we focus on the positives and the things we have in common. Yeah. And I very much value growing up in the church, going on a mission, I had a privileged life growing up, and I don't, but I no longer see the world through the black and white lens of Mormonism, you know. Yeah. So I'm very sympathetic to LGBTQ stances, and you know, I have issues with some of the church history, you know, Joseph Smith, Brigham Young, you know, the world no longer became black and white; it became gray. Yeah, to me, and a lot of doors opened up, and I chose to go down some of them and not. But so yeah, I've spent hundreds, thousands of hours listening. That's how I kind of got into podcasts. Started listening to Mormon Stories, Mormon Expression, Infants on Thrones, Mormon Discussions, Naked Mormonism, and really like diving into church history, and then expanding on that into podcasts that I love today still, like Skeptic's Guide to the Universe. I mentioned I listen to your podcast. I like Radio Lab and Planet Money, and you know, podcasts are my form of reading. So when you say you like in the morning you wake up and read for an hour. So when I go to bed at night, I have a podcast going on. A lot of them are science podcasts, and that's how I take in my knowledge. Yeah. So we've fast forward through a lot of time there, but I wanted to leave a little bit of time for us to talk about business. Yeah. So, and that was a life-changing moment for me, and a huge thing is walking away, having the courage to so this could be saved for the end of my thing as my moment of wisdom, but having the courage to look back at your life and say, I was wrong and I'm going to change. I don't think there's a lot of people that have that characteristic where they can realize I was wrong about something, and I'm gonna change my life as a result.
Yeah,
so.
I couldn't agree more. That's kind of going back to the CS letter. So I was actually already out of the church when that was released. My experience with that was interesting. So I heard about it, and I heard about it because I knew someone that knew Jeremy Reynolds, and they're like, yeah, he's released this letter, and it's going through the internet like wildfire or whatever, right? So I get a hold of it, and I think I even went to his website, if I remember right. He had a website at some point.
Yeah.
I read the thing, and I'm like, dude, this is the structured, well-written version of everything I have a problem with.
Right.
It's like what I would have wanted to write if I was going to do it, And I kind of pounded through it. I learned how to read quickly a long time ago, where I basically skip every other word. And your brain just like actually puts it together properly. But
I wish I had that skill.
You just have to practice it.
Yeah.
Like it's odd to do, but once you do it, you can fly through stuff, right? And I went through the CS letter very quickly. Then I thought, hold on, I'm going to go back. And I actually went back and read every word. And I would actually pause a lot and think about it and be like, do I agree with him? Do I not agree with him? Because at that point, I had come to the realization that it's like, I don't agree with every single thing I read, even if I've fallen in love with the author, right? Which is, I think, is the problem with religion in general, right? Just because you fell in love with the author doesn't mean that everything that they put out is true, right? Or truth. And so, but that dude, man, he hit on a lot of stuff. My biggest problem is polygamy. That is the thing that I'm like, I do not believe in a God that would institute polygamy. It makes no sense. Yeah. Right. And, in one of these podcasts, I got a little more animated about it. But even when they came out with the essay letters, which I was like, whose idea was this? Yeah. Right. In one of them, they say, I think it was Helen Mar Kimball or whoever it was, right? They go, it was a girl almost 15.
Right.
And I'm like, that is 14.
Right.
Why are you lying? Like, why are you twisting this?
You could see the spin. Like,
yeah.
Why are they saying almost 15?
Right. It's like the most obvious, gaslighting or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And so, so the CS letter, I never shared it with anybody. I was a guy, well, that's not true. If people asked about it, I would say, yeah, go read the CES letter. Right. But I wasn't like blasting it to people, like, hey family, I've left the church and this is why. So read this letter. I just think people got to find their own path no matter what it is. Right. And, but yeah, it was, leaving the church is a very hard, emotionally draining, scary and courageous thing.
Yeah.
How
did Michelle react? Where did she stand through this?
Very good question.
Yeah.
She, I'd kind of not been as active in the church. And if you want to know the truth, was the reason why is I would be like, I'm not feeling it today. I'm kind of sick. And she'd be like, okay. We didn't have kids yet. So she went to church a few times without me. And I spent the 3 hours studying, right? It was more like, this is my chance to just go ham on this while she's not here. And, we had just had our first child, like months before, and I sat her down one night and I said, hey, I got to be honest with you. Like, I've come to the conclusion that the church is not true for me. And she was like, what? And we were very active, right? Like, I was the home teacher that never missed. We went to the temple every month, never missed a tithing payment. You know what I mean? Like, it was, we checked every single box, always went to church, went to every baptism, the whole 9 yards, right? I was a true believer. I was in.
Yeah.
Right? And so she was shocked, but she trusted me, right? And I said to her, geez, I can't believe I'm getting emotional about this. I've said this story like a million times.
Yeah.
I said, it's because I love my wife. I said to her, I'll go for the rest of my life pretending if you want me to. And I said, but what I want is I want you to study this with me for a couple months. And whatever conclusion you come to, I will follow you. I'll raise our kids in this if you want. It's not like this is evil, but I'll I'll do whatever you want. Basically, potentially a mixed faith marriage, but I was going to fake it, and I would have. I really would have. And but I had made timelines, and I had made notes, and I had all sorts of stuff that I was using for my own self. And so we sat down, and after about 4 months, she came to the same conclusion I did. And it was just like, and it wasn't like we were studying every day or like going over this all the time. We still had life in the way, right? But she said, yeah, I don't like polygamy either. You know, and I really want to kind of figure this out for myself. So she just kind of thought and pondered and prayed, or whatever you want to call it, on her own. And then the more she came back to it, the more she was just like, yeah, I agree with you. I trust you. Like, let's leave. And so I think the last time, so our two oldest kids are about 2.5 years apart. The last time I went to my own ward, I blessed Nixon. But I was already out. And I had even told the bishop, I'm like, hey, I can't bless him, so we're not going to bless him. And he's like, no, he was a good friend of mine, you know, neighbor. And he was just like, just come bless him, Mark. It doesn't matter. Yeah. You know? And I was like, what do you mean it doesn't matter? He's like, it doesn't matter, Mark. Just come do it. Yeah. I don't care if you believe it or not. You know, I'll never out him because it's kind of against the rules, right? But yeah, so to answer your question, she trusted me enough to, and she knew that like I wasn't leaving because I wanted to drink. I wasn't leaving because I wanted to like sin. I was leaving because of my heart, like the truth that I came up with.
Yeah. There is that stereotype that, oh, he just wants to drink. He just wants to smoke pot, you know? Yeah. Yeah. I had similar, not a very similar experience to you. When I knew, I told my wife, we actually went to this was like my last cry to God. You know, I was like, okay, before I tell him, we're going to go to the temple. So like we went to the temple around our anniversary, and I was like trying to open the conduit to heaven, pretty much like, if this is wrong, you know, you need to, God, you owe me. You gotta let me know. So after we went to the temple together, we went to dinner, and I didn't feel it. And I told her, and I said, I know I'm not on a path. This is not what you thought you were marrying. I'm not going to become the person that you thought, that active, believing Mormon. And I like gave her every out. Like, I can't go through life faking. I didn't say to her I would fake. I didn't feel like that was a sustainable path. And I wonder if it would have been sustainable for you. But maybe you got to be authentic. And she chose me. So, and I chose her, and I said, I'm still willing to give everything to this. I love my wife and respect her, and that's what we've chosen to do. We make it work. And not only that, we make it work well. You know, our kids are well. I don't know if we have quite the relationship that you've described with, your best friend, love of your life, Michelle. Yeah. But we make it work on,
Well, I'll tell you one thing that my wife actually said to me the other day. She texted it to me, and she said, we get asked frequently, I wouldn't say all the time, but like people will say, like, how do you guys make this work so well? Like, because if you're around my wife and I, like, it's very clear that we're very happy, you know? And, people are like, what do you guys do? Like, how do you do this? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm always like, I don't know, man. Like, I got married at 22 and 20. You know what I mean? We turned a year older that year, but like friggin' shot in the dark, lucky. We didn't know enough out of each other. If you logically wrote down, it makes no sense, right? And I'm like, I don't know, we're kind to each other. We try and be honest, that kind of stuff. And like my wife texted me the day, she goes, you know why we work? And then I go, why? And she goes, because we built it. Very simple. And it like really hit me hard. I'm like, yeah, that's why it works. We just build it every day. Yeah. Same as you guys, you're 17 years in, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, 2005. Was that the same year as you guys?
14. Oh. Well, you one more year than you guys, but we got married young. That's what I'm saying. But like, it works when you build it, you got to go through some crap, you don't have to go through crazy stuff, loss of a kid and stuff like that. Sometimes it just tears people apart, but like, every day you got to decide you're going to stay together, and you got to want to be together, and you got to build it every day.
Yeah, it's a choice every morning when you wake up. Yeah. So,
anyhow, yeah. So
I want to talk some business before we're done. I hope we have time.
Oh, we got all day. Yeah. Let's talk some business. Good. And I'll stop freaking getting emotional on my freaking podcast.
Well, that's a big part of our life. Yeah. And still every day for me.
Yeah.
So, and I, as much, even though I came to the conclusion that it wasn't true, that doesn't mean the values that I taught, I value a lot of what growing up as a Mormon taught me.
Yeah.
And I still go a lot. We're in a mixed faith marriage. So, my kids go to church. I was at the primary program just yesterday watching my kids. So I try to be supportive of everyone.
Yeah.
And I don't approach people with stuff I unless they come to me.
Yeah.
It's a hard road, man. I was where we moved in Orem, I was on the High Council, Stake Young Men's president in the bishopric. It was hard to come to that conclusion. I built a 30-year foundation.
Yeah.
And kind of walked away from a lot of it. Not all of it. I expect the values, but
yeah.
It's a daily challenge for us. Well, let's talk business.
Yeah, let's talk business.
Yeah.
So tell me, what business are you in?
So much like you, I started off working for my dad. The company we work for right now is called TRA Snow and Sun. We manufacture snow retention devices for roofs. These are usually metal clips or fences to keep the snow and ice from sliding off the roof. And how we got started in that, my dad in the 70s and 80s was selling concrete tile roofs for companies like Monier and Bar Tile or whatever. Those are like what you'd see in St. George and Vegas or whatever, and you still see them here. If you drive around a lot of the older LDS churches, you'll see tile on them. So he came into that. He sold a bunch of those jobs. Snow and ice came on those roofs. It slid and it broke up all the tile on what he advertised to the church and to other businesses, whatever, of like a 50-year roof. You won't have to replace this forever. And here they are a year or two in, and they've got a busted up roof all over. So he felt really bad about that and wanted to come up with a solution. And he said, I know these tile roofs have been around Europe and Asia for decades, hundreds of, not even decades, we're talking centuries. And he's like, how do they do it over there? I know they have snow. So he actually went over to Europe and found out that they were retaining the snow, holding it in place so it didn't slide. And that wasn't really being done here. A handful. So he came back here and started making, little clips that go on the roof to keep the snow and ice from sliding. And that since then, that has snowballed, so to speak, into, retaining snow on roofs on all kinds of metal roofs, asphalt shingles. And so that's what our business does. We manufacture that. We started in 1993. So I started in production. I've worked in sales, finance, kind of a jack of all trades a little bit. Through all that time, got my degree, multiple degrees. And we could talk about higher education and my opinion on that if you want to. But that's kind of where we landed. So I've been working for TRA for 20 years. There was kind of a hiatus there. We could talk about family business if we wanted to, the challenges that come with family business. Yeah. So I did kind of leave. I got frustrated working for family and went, and I also felt like I need to go work for somebody else.
Yeah.
And I worked for On Top Roofing in Park City for almost 2 years. And currently I'm the CFO at TRA Snow and Sun. We've gone in that time from like a business of, revenues of probably around 100,000 back in the early 90s, supplemented by other stuff that we do, to this year, 6.5 probably million in revenue. And as I'm sitting here today, our company's probably going to have our first month of $1 million of revenue in one month.
Nice.
I'm a big believer in manufacturing. It's really nice to have the work come to you where we can do it in our shop. We're only limited. We don't have to travel and find employees. So it's probably some similarities to ADP Limco, your business, except we don't do the install side.
Oh, gotcha. No install.
We just do the manufacturing.
Why don't you install?
So, that's a good question. the one sentence answer to that is we don't want to compete against our customers. So if we started installing, we would be, they would be competing against us to a degree, and some companies can make that work. But I just think it's a better business model for us to focus on the work that we can do as to be a manufacturer, pretty much. Yeah. I actually think ADP Limco is kind of an exception. There's not a lot of manufacturers that are also installers. I think you guys break the mold to a little bit.
We do.
To a degree.
Yeah. In our industry, for sure, we're the only ones that do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting. My dad's always done it that way, so it wasn't like I changed that or anything. It gives you a lot of, it's easier for us. It's easier to add product lines if we're installing. So like we're into turf now, right?
Yeah.
And in fact, we're good at turf. I'm bidding the new Real Madrid turf in their stadium in Spain.
Awesome.
And I was recommended into that position. It wasn't like I'm actively seeking jobs in Spain.
Awesome.
And so it's one of those situations where, it's just, we can take our install crews and grow them or shrink them depending on what product lines we want to bring in.
Yeah. Now, does ADP Limco, do you sell to other customers, or are you guys mainly feeding yourself?
We're mainly feeding ourselves. We will sell. We used to have dealers. The problem with dealers, and I'm sure you feel this, right, is if they don't run their business smooth, you ain't getting paid. Yeah. Right? So everyone that was a dealer for us, we have turned them into sales agents and sales reps that install for themselves generally, right? Mm-hmm. So they're kind of a hybrid of us, but we hold all the paper. And so I just got sick of giving up control of how we're getting paid. And so I have a really robust accounting department inside of ADP Limco that actually extends to almost every business I'm involved in. And so, when it comes to construction, we got to do pay applications, and, every state has different regulations and the compliance and all that level. We keep that at inside our accounting department. So we know we're getting paid, cash is king, right? So, and what cash is king means for people who listen to this, it means that if you don't have your cash flows coming in and you have more cash going out than you're bringing in, you will torpedo your business because you don't have enough operating capital.
Right. So the problems you're describing right now as a manufacturer, I don't have to sign a contract with the builder and, lien releases, and we do some lien releases, but being just a manufacturer sometimes has the benefit of not having to deal with that.
Yeah. Which I totally understand. The thing with us, we're experts is dealing with it.
Oh, so, you guys have made it work, man. Yeah. So I'm not poking holes in your business model. It's working. Yeah. So,
yeah. No, I mean, it's just kind of like, it's like competency level, right? It's like, what crap do you want to deal with? I actually hate doing business in California. There's 52 million people there. Like, there's more business to do in California than all the 11 Western states combined, probably, or it'll be close to that. But I hate working there. It's full of they'll contract you to death. They'll there's a whole group there called the DSA, and all the DSA does is make your life a living hell. And it's just a government body that
here's your next hoop to jump through.
Exactly. Here's your next one. Oh, exactly. Yeah. And so, the certified payroll down there is insane. Every county, city, and probably county, city, what else is down there? Anyways, they all have different taxes. So if you write a contract in San Diego, it literally matters what zip code you're in because the tax is going to be different on one side of San Diego than the other side of San Diego. And then Northern California is very friendly towards business. Southern California is not friendly towards business. One year we had the whole state of California just add 1.75% tax on every contract that was active.
Wow.
Just pop. Couldn't go back for any recourse. They're just like, no, we need some more tax revenue this year. So every open contract here gets 1.75. Plus you have, is it Prop 65? It's whatever that bullcrap is. We have to label every box, every pipe, everything that goes into that state as that it can cause cancer.
Non-carcinogenic.
Yeah. We ship in freaking steel beams and glass backboards, dude, and it has a sticker on it that says this may cause cancer. It's just like, it's so crazy, dude.
Yeah.
And, we have to fight the union there all the time because we're non-union. We'll never be union.
Yeah.
And so, well, I even tried to play ball with the union down there. So it's like the Southwest Carpenters Union or something like that. Well, it extends into like 7 states. So I called them up and said, give me an exemption outside of California and I'll join your union and we'll do the union bullcrap in Southern California when we work down there, right? And they would never agree to that. So that carpenters union actually goes into Utah, it goes into New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada. So just for me to do a job in LA under the union rules, I would have to pay union wages and fringe benefits in Utah.
Wow.
It's just like, no. So anyways, I can complain about California all day long, but yeah, and, I got to file a freaking personal tax return there. I got to do all sorts of stuff. Paying them personal income tax also drives me nuts because I'm like, I get zero benefit from this, but then, it's just California. But when you're a manufacturer, I mean, you're dealing with one tax, right? And most of the time you're probably not even doing tax, right? Because it's going to construction.
We have to collect sales tax, especially anything that gets picked up. We ship stuff out. The state laws are different on that. So I'll let my accounting department speak to that exactly. Yeah. But we have to collect sales tax.
But just for the state of Utah, or does it extend?
Mainly just for the state of Utah. Yeah. If we had employees in other states, I think we would be required to, and we did do that. First of all, I'm not a CPA, so I take whatever I say here with a grain of salt. But yeah, for the most part, we're just collecting local sales tax from people picking up, and customers are on their own to report their use tax when we ship out of state. We ship a lot out of state.
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. We're really heavy in about 30 states. So I could literally point at a map which states to work in and which ones not to work in. So Texas, awesome.
Yeah.
Everything in Texas is awesome. It's the most business-friendly state ever. Actually, Utah is very business-friendly too.
Right. Well, there's a reason those 2 states are probably in the top 5, economic growth states in the last decade.
And quality of life.
Yeah.
Economic prowess and freaking where you want to live go hand in hand.
Yeah.
No matter what these people want to say, but yeah, no, I mean, you like it, right?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's work. I like, my degree's in engineering. I have a business. I went and got an MBA as well, but my biggest satisfaction is when I look back and get something accomplished. I love Excel. I love building spreadsheets. I have a mind for logic. And so every day I get to go into work and problem solve. And some days more than other, I can look back and say, yeah, man, look what I did. Look what I accomplished. And that comes a little bit from a construction background too. There are days that I miss working in construction just because at the end of the day, you can stand back and look what you did and have a sense of satisfaction. And I do get that at work.
Yeah. No, it's very true. I mean, some of the fun parts with construction is, you actually get to see things be done, especially manufacturing, right? It's like, hey, today we got to ship XYZ. As long as those pallets get stuck in a truck, it's like, hey, cool, mission accomplished.
Right.
I feel like at my job, number one, I don't have a boss, so there's no one coming down and saying, hey, good job, bro.
Yeah.
And so I'm always like, I just feel like I never finish anything because it's just always ongoing, It's just always something new. And
I have that feeling. Like yesterday, at the end of the day, a lot of my stuff wasn't wrapped up. And I had this is a weakness and a strength. I believe that people's strengths are also their weaknesses. We talked about that a little bit. So for me, I do purchasing. I can give you some examples, but I'll stick with this one. So we had a little controller on a hoist that needs to go up that had broken off, and they brought it to me, and I can go out. We don't have an in-house maintenance or electrician guy, so I got to call someone, pay them $100+ an hour, to travel here, wire that little thing in, and go. So, but me being like a problem solver, do it yourselfer, I go out there. And I needed to accomplish something that day. So, you know, I can fix the controller, save a few $100s, and think, hey, you know, I just made my day's wage in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And got something done, and go back to my other more challenging, you know, daily struggle, business struggles. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you ever need that to just be like, I gotta get something done?
Oh yeah. Yeah. You know, there's, I use my text messages as an inbox, and I use my, or it's a to-do list, I should say, and my email inbox. And so I try at the end of the day to get every email out of my inbox that I possibly can. And then also my text messages. So when people are like, hey, you want to do this? And I'm like, I'll either put it on the calendar, and as soon as the conversation's over, I delete it out of my phone. Yeah. Because I need it to be
nice, accomplished
and done.
You got to check that box.
Even though I probably have 57 text messages that have action items in them currently. But yeah, it's just one of those things where I just got to get it done. Yeah. You know, and feel some sort of sense of accomplishment. But yeah. And I do a lot of, I talk with my employees a lot. So, you know, I'll kind of just like casual conversation, you know, like I need them to not think I'm in an ivory tower. I think it's really good not to get that way. Because I could literally go in my office and lock the door every day all week and never talk to anybody except for through an email. But I think it's good to, you know, go, you know, slap their shoulder. And, you know, we do fantasy football in the office. So I go and I'm currently number 1, right? So I tell everyone how
not in our league.
Not in our league, bro. Dude, I've lost my winning ways in our league. I can't freaking figure it out, dude. So, of course, in my league at work, I created all the rules, too.
Well, there you go.
But, yeah. Dude, I don't think I've won our league in a minute.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if I've won our league, actually, now that I'm saying that out loud.
Yeah. And it's funny because your team name is still called Back-to-Back. But that back-to-back was probably like, what, 2007, 2008?
Yo, I think that's right. I did win it. Yeah, it is, because I did win it 2 years in a row.
I'm just making up years, but yeah.
I'm going to have to change it to I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because I'm just not getting it
Your
done.
team tanked when you like went all in on Antonio Brown, I think, and he fell apart with all his drama.
That is true. That is absolutely true, because I picked him. Remember he got injured that one year? And I picked him up like in the 3rd or 4th round. So then like his draft cost me nothing. Yeah. And then he lost his ever living mind. Yeah. In the Raiders. And it just, yeah. If you were going to advise somebody on going into your career, what would you say to them?
So I'm a big believer in work ethic. I really liked your podcast with your dad, actually. Yeah. You know, I think your dad clearly has a work ethic. He cares about the job that he does, and that's something that's really hard to teach people. You can't hire and teach a work ethic. So, learning to work hard to accomplish something was key, I think, to me to just go in and grind and get it done. Have a goal, finish it. So that's number 1 is having a work ethic, a desire to get in there and get the job done. Number 2 for me is, you know, you need to develop skills. I believe in having a broad, a shallow, broad knowledge in a lot of things and kind of deep in one section. For me, you know, engineering and Excel and problem solving is the deep well that I've chosen, and but a lot of broad knowledge in other things gives you the skill set to really take advantage of that. And I love learning. I love problem solving. I can easily get distracted, and I think that's again a strength or weakness of mine. But I think you need that. I think individuals should have a lot of broad knowledge and a deep well. So I benefited a lot from, again, I worked in production, sales, I did school, and picked what I really loved, which is why I in the business I'm in right now, I'm in a partnership. My parents still own the company, but my brother and I are the executives and we run it. So I'm in charge of purchasing, technical engineering, finance, and he does sales and production. And he's strong on, I have a problem with telling people like it is. So he's stronger at, having casual conversations. He's better with people than I am. I'm better with numbers than he is. And we kind of take our strengths and weaknesses and work together.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answers your question, but find your passion, work hard, and take some time to reflect and celebrate your accomplishments and milestones along the way.
Yeah, that was great. Well, my friend, let's wrap it up, man. I want your best 2 minutes of advice.
I just gave you a bunch. So I'm going to go back to what I talked about earlier. Having the courage to reflect every once in a while and realize you can be wrong. And I think that's a skill that I have. But sometimes it takes me a week. Like the next day, you might not get me admitting that I'm wrong yet. But to reflect, I've done that with religion. I've done that with my business. I've done that with politics to agree. Being able to, none of us have all the answers. We're all wrong right now about something. So having the courage about a lot of things, probably, having the courage to really look and study an issue and change your mind and admit that is a good skill. And then hard work and a desire to better yourself and improve. That's it, man.
That's excellent, dude.
Yeah.
Jake, thank you for coming on the podcast. It was, it's awesome having you on. I'm mad at you for making me cry. That's good. No, I love having conversations like this. And, it's fun to reconnect. It's fun to, talk about our glory days in football. We talk about it, I'm sure our wives roll their eyes, but, we went through it, it was us there, there's very few people actually know what we're really talking about. And it's, some people will find it great and some people will fast forward that bit, but
which is fine.
Which is absolutely fine.
It was enough just with you and me. That was enough for me.
Yeah, it's funny, man. We're a little over 2 hours here, and it was great. It's just great to remember, and it's great for people to hear what people actually go through in life and the lessons that they learn.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the President McCormack Podcast, brought to you by McCormack Foundation, Saxton Fund, ADP Lemco, and Professional Floor Systems. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and keep up with Mark on Instagram @President McCormack.